Good morning, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a good rest. We have now reached 9 o'clock and we are still about 35 parties short of quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We can start the morning session. I will hand over to the Secretariat for housekeeping.
Thank you. Good morning again. We have a working program change in this committee this morning, hopefully this morning. As you probably see behind me, the agenda item 35.3 on Totoabas has been moved to be discussed today, 28th of November, immediately after agenda item 31 on demand reduction to combat illegal trade, and before agenda item 41 on CITES Big Cats Task Force. So Totoabas, document 35.3, after document 31. The second announcement is that we received some concerns from parties about the seating arrangements. I would like to remind all participants that the party seat sections, including the second row of the seats, are reserved for parties. If there are any party delegates who need extra seats, and if you see your neighboring seats maybe open, you're only allowed to sit there with the permission of the party concerned. If your next door neighbors are not here at all, and you are not able to ask for permission from that party, please just make sure that you put the nameplates down so there is no confusion about which party you're representing. Just to remind again that observers are not allowed to sit in this section. Observers are not allowed to sit in the party section. Lastly, with regard to the media issues, while the ballot is open for 40 seconds, there shall be no photos and no standing up or walking around during the ballot is open. This is a reminder to make sure that there are no photos, no standing up, no walking around for the 40 seconds while the ballot is open. And over to you, Chair.
Thank you. I will now open the session, and we will be looking at document 38, Review of Resolution Conference 11.3, Ref CoP19 on Compliance and Enforcement. The document is submitted by the Standing Committee. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt the amendments to Resolution Conference 11.3, Ref CoP19 on Compliance and Enforcement, and delete Decision 19.66. I open the floor for parties. I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Доброе утро, госпожа председатель. У нас по 38-му документу есть только один комментарий. Он касается пункта 23Б. В этом пункте мы понимаем задачи секретариата в том, чтобы вовремя получить материалы от сторон и иметь возможность в дальнейшем представить результаты, получаемые от сторон, вовремя. В то же время нам представляется, что сохранение 6 месяцев – важный момент. Текст, который сейчас представлен, выглядит таким образом, что страны должны представить все-таки в первые 3 месяца. Да? И на странах лежит обязанность сообщить в секретариат информацию, почему не представлено в течение 3 месяцев, а страны все-таки рассчитывают на 6. Поэтому мы предлагаем следующую редакцию параграфа 23Б. Я прочитаю по-английски медленно. Paragraph 23B.
Russian Federation, just hold on. I see a party flagging their placard. I can't see who it is. Is it Benin? Benin, you have the floor.
Oui, merci Madame la Présidente. C'est pour signaler qu'il n'y a pas d'interprétation en français.
Thank you. Russian Federation, do you want to just do the intervention again? Because I think there was no French translation. Can we try again? Thank you.
Госпожа председатель, мне говорить по-русски или по-английски? Какого нет перевода?
It's okay now, yeah, so you can speak in Russian. Thank you.
Спасибо. Я повторю. Мы согласны с предложениями и документом 38. У нас есть одна поправка в пункт 23б. Еще раз повторю, что мы согласны с тем, что секретариат должен знать заранее, будут ли предоставлены материалы от сторон или нет, и когда. И мы поддерживаем такую, так сказать, четкость и помощь секретариату. В то же время мы считаем, что должно быть сохранено четкое понимание, что у сторон есть 6 месяцев на представление информации, и стороны не обязаны предоставить информацию в течение первых 3 месяцев. Кроме того, мы считаем, что это не на сторонах должна лежать ответственность по истечении 3 месяцев самим информировать секретариат, что и как происходит, а секретариат должен получить эту информацию. Поэтому у нас есть предложение просто альтернативно сформулировать параграф, и я медленно прочитаю его по-английски. So, paragraph 23b, we like to see it the following way. When, within 3 months, the information requested has not been provided, the Secretariat reminds parties and requests the information on the status of the response to be provided within the following 3 months. Let me know if I need to read it again.
Yes, please.
When, within 3 months, the information requested has not been provided, the Secretariat reminds parties and requests the information on the status of the response to be provided within the following 3 months. С нашей точки зрения мы по-прежнему сохраняем 6 месяцев, и мы помогаем секретариату понять, когда и как будет предоставлена эта информация, и в то же время помогаем странам, потому что секретариат напомнит странам о том, что они должны представить такую информацию и получат ответ о статусе предоставления информации. Спасибо.
China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In principle, China supports the amendments to Resolution CoP 11.3, but we cannot agree with the provision regarding professional bodies. China believes that the proposal to hold members of these bodies to higher legal standards violates the principle of equality before the law. Liability must be based on the act itself, not on the actor's profession or membership status. Furthermore, the definition of these bodies is too vague to provide guidance or to be legally enforceable. We prefer to remove the reference to differentiated liabilities. Instead, we should focus on encouraging professional associations to strengthen internal compliance and capacity building. Thank you, Chair.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India wishes to thank the Standing Committee for this document. While the need to bring more awareness on compliance procedure is imperative, there is equally a need for having a relook into the Resolution 11.3 on compliance. An intersessional working group may be constituted for looking into details of the resolution. Thank you, Chair.
China, can I get clarification on which amendment you are requesting for? Because on the professional bodies, that was in the preamble and also in 10E. China, you have the floor.
Okay. There's one place that mentioned that the professional bodies will be charged for higher law, punishment standards if they violate the regulations. So we think that is not fair to them, and everybody should be equal in front of law.
Can I clarify, is it in 13G that you're referring to?
Check it. Oh, yeah. But on here at G, you just note the comments by China and the Russian Federation, but haven't mentioned that. What's the comments?
China, I am not clear which amendment you are asking for. So can you just be clear which paragraph you are intending to edit for the professional bodies?
At 12G.
You mean
12G?
13G?
It's 12G. Is that? It's 12G. So we just want to emphasize that the professional bodies, it is unfair for them to charge for higher legal standards.
Thank you, and we note your comment. So now I will go back to the edit by Russian Federation. So I'll repeat the edit, just to make sure everyone is on the same page. It is in para 23B. When within 3 months, the Secretariat remind parties, is it? Okay. When within 3 months, the information requested has not been provided, the Secretariat remind parties and request information on the status of the response to be provided within the following 3 months. I repeat again, 23B, when within 3 months, the information requested has not been provided, the Secretariat remind parties and requests information on the status of the response to be provided within the following 3 months. Can I get some comments? United States of America, with the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States supports the document recommendations and does not support the additional proposed amendments. Thank you.
Can I get more views on this? Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We're supportive of the recommendations. We could also probably accommodate Russia's change. I know essentially what they're proposing is just a reminder in that 6-month period, and we think that might be supportive for parties. Thank you, Chair.
UAE, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the amendment.
United States of America, I'll just come back to you. Would it okay to have this edit? And if you want to have any suggested change in the language, because essentially it's just to remind the parties.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We could support the edit proposed by China. We're just trying to be cognizant of the work of the Secretariat and putting the burden of all these reminders on them. But we could support the edit made by the PRC. Thank you.
Sorry, United States of America. I think you mean Russian Federation, the edits.
You're absolutely correct. It's the Russian Federation. Thank you.
Thank you. Sudan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Sudan support the edit made by Russian. Thank you.
China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to correct the information. It's the amendments to 13G, page 2.
Yes, China, we noted your comments
It's
on
13G.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Noted. Okay, thank you. Seeing no requests from the floor, the committee accepts the proposed amendments to Resolution Conference 11.3, Ref CoP19 on compliance and enforcement in document CoP20.38 with the amendments made on the floor by Russia Federation. I will just read one last time just to make sure. Paragraph 23B, when within 3 months, the information requested has not been provided, and the Secretariat remind and request information on the status of the response to be provided within the following 3 months. The committee also accepts the deletion of decision 19.66, and I conclude this agenda item. Thank you. I now go to Agenda 39, Enforcement Matters. The document is submitted by the Secretariat. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt quite a number of recommendations, so I will propose that we deal with them one by one. So the first one is to adopt amendments to paragraph 4 of Resolution Conference 17.6 on prohibiting, preventing, detecting, and countering corruption, which facilitates activities conducted in violation of the Convention. I open the floor to parties. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States generally supports the Secretariat's recommendations and acknowledges that the Standing Committee at SC 78 agreed to submit many of the recommendations contained in this document to COP20. However, upon further review, we would like to propose several revisions to the amendments proposed in the annexes of the document. So for the first document recommendation, these proposed revisions can be referenced in our information document 61 and would provide non-substantive edits to Resolution COMP 17.6 to align the language more closely with other international law enforcement related treaties and would emphasize the importance of prevention initiatives and prosecution of persons involved in wildlife crime. Our edits to Resolution COMP 17.6 Rev COP 19 in Annex 1 are as follows. Paragraph 4, little a, would read, ensure that corruption, new text, and money laundering, risk mitigation policies and strategies are in place, inserting new text, comma, and regularly updated to address corruption, inserting new text, and money laundering, risks associated with wildlife crime. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United States of America. So the suggested edit is only for 4 little a. Am I right?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le Sénégal prend la parole pour appuyer le travail qui a été fait par le secrétariat, indépendamment de l'amendement des États-Unis, si ils sont retenus par la Commission. Merci.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Secretariat for the document COP20.39. While India supports the recommendations provided in the document, we wish to suggest few amendments. In the draft decision of Annex 1 of COP20.39, the words, especially CITES Management Authority, may be deleted, as it would be sufficient to limit the phrase to direct the parties to take appropriate actions. It is so because, considering the new text proposed in the draft decision, Annex 1, ensure that corruption risk management policies and strategies are in place to address corruption risks and associated with wildlife crime, has wider jurisdiction than that are beyond the domain of management authorities. Further, India also proposed to add the following paragraph after paragraph 28 of the resolution, Conference 11.3, that is 28D. Providing increased global and regional training opportunities for wildlife enforcement officers in financial crime techniques to track illicit financial flows. Thank you, Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor.
My apologies, Chair. The United States does have additional edits to Conference 17.6. If I may read them. In paragraph 4, little b, it would read, work closely with existing national anti-corruption commissions and like bodies, law enforcement agencies, judicial authorities, as well as with relevant civil society organizations in the design and implementation of integrity policies, which might also include inserting new text, prevention and deterrence initiatives, such as mission statements, codes of conduct, and inserting new text, measures to protect whistleblowers, striking out schemes, taking into account the relevant provisions of the UNCAC. And paragraph 4, little c, we also have edits. They would read, the paragraph little c would read, ensure that collaboration mechanisms are in place between CITES management, striking out, and anti-corruption. And then continuing on with authorities, inserting new text, and authorities with responsibilities to investigate and prosecute acts of corruption, to facilitate swift and decisive action where, inserting new text, acts of corruption, striking out activities are detected, and then inserting new text, comma, including clear procedures for information sharing and joint investigations. I can read the whole little para C. So little para C would read, ensure that collaboration mechanisms are in place between CITES management authorities and authorities with responsibilities to investigate and prosecute acts of corruption, to facilitate swift and decisive action where corruption are detected, including clear procedures for information sharing and joint investigations. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I just want to get views from the floor. So India is suggesting the removal of and especially CITES management authorities, and also for US edits for B on A, B, and C, basically including money laundering, and also just giving more details on prevention, measures to protect. So I just want to get views on the floor on the edits. Thank you. Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Мы поддерживаем предложения, сделанные Индией, и не возражаем против предложений США по пункту 4b. Спасибо.
Zambia, you have the floor. Zambia, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Zambia supports the edits made by USA. I think it will be more encompassing. Thank you, Chair.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada supports the amendments provided by the United States to the A, B, and C. We also agree with India on the striking of and especially CITES management authorities for the rationale they provided. Thank you, Chair.
Sudan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Sudan aligned with the Indian proposed amendment. Thank you.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We can also support the US edits and those of India as well. Thank you.
Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We can also support the edits from India and the United States.
Fiji, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Fiji also supports the edit made by India and United States.
Indonesia.
Thank you, Chair. We are flexible with the edit from the United States, and we support the India proposal. But for the text for the United States, we are proposing to add financial intelligence unit to paragraph 4b.
Where would you like to add that, Indonesia?
So in paragraph 4b, after the judicial authorities in line 2. 4B, line 2, after judicial authorities.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Wildlife Management International, you have the floor.
How does this work? Thank you, Chair. The Wildlife Justice Commission strongly supports the amendment to paragraph 4A of Resolution Conference 17.6. Since 2015, our investigations have consistently shown that corruption facilitates wildlife crime at every stage of criminal justice and global supply chains. We suggest further amending paragraph 4A to call on parties to implement coordinated, cross-sectoral, and harmonized corruption risk mitigation policies and strategies at domestic, regional, and international levels, and regularly update them to effectively respond to evolving risks in line with their obligations under the UN Convention Against Corruption. We also support the proposed amendments to paragraph 4C of Resolution Conference 17.6, a holistic approach that bridges efforts amongst international fora, including CITES, the UN Crime and Corruption Conventions, and that strengthens interagency cooperation between CITES management authorities and anti-corruption agencies is essential. This will ensure a comprehensive approach to the interconnected challenges of biodiversity loss, organized crime, and corruption. The Wildlife Justice Commission also supports amendments to Resolution Conference 11.3, paragraph 9D. Parallel financial investigations are essential, enabling authorities to identify and recover criminal proceeds, expose the financial structure of criminal networks, and target high-level offenders. By tracing illicit financial flows and seizing assets, authorities can deprive criminals of the profits sustaining their operations. Financial investigations also provide alternative avenues for prosecutions, often carrying stronger penalties. Ensuring deterrent and proportionate sentences for high-level offenders is essential to shift wildlife crime from a low-risk, high-reward activity to one with real consequences. In this line, we also
Wildlife
support the
Management
maintaining
International,
of,
please wrap up. Thank you.
Yeah, of Decision 19.79 on enforcement in support of further work conducted to money laundering associated with wildlife crime and promote financial investigations. Thank you.
For the previous speaker, can I just confirm that you are representing Wildlife Management International?
No, we're the Wildlife Justice Commission.
Okay, thank you, because it's reflected differently on the screen. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try to wrap up because I did not hear any objection to the suggested edits by the parties. I'll just take one last speaker, Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate the document CoP20, document 39, and support suggested decision. However, to strengthen efforts and ensure an essential collaboration, including interagency level, to enable comprehensive illegal wildlife trade reporting from all parties and ensure accessibility of necessary guidance, we would like to suggest adding new draft decision in CoP20 document 39, Annex 4.
Kazakhstan, just hang on. We are in Annex 1.
Okay.
Can you hold that first? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so the committee accepts the amendments to Para 4 of Resolution Conference 17.6 in Annex 1 on prohibiting, preventing, detecting, countering corruption, which facilitates activities conducted in violation of the Convention, with amendments made on the floor by India, USA, and Indonesia. I will just quickly go through the edits just to make sure we're on the same page. So for Para 4, the deletion of "and especially CITES management authorities." And then for Para little a, ensure that corruption and money laundering risk mitigation policies and strategies are in place and regularly updated to address corruption and money laundering risks associated with wildlife crime. Little b, after judicial authorities, comma, financial intelligence units, then as well as, then the sentence continue. In the design and implementation of integrity policies, which might also include prevention and deterrence initiatives, such as mission statements, codes of conduct, and measures to protect whistleblowers. And then the sentence follows, with deletion of schemes. And then it follows. In para C, ensure that collaboration mechanisms are in place between CITES management, authorities, and authorities with responsibilities to investigate and prosecute acts of corruption, to facilitate swift and decisive action where acts of corruption are detected, including clear procedures for information sharing and joint investigations. Thank you, and I will close Annex 1. So now we will go to Annex 2 of Document 39. So we're looking at amendments adding a new subpara D, paragraph D, to paragraph 9, under regarding enforcement at national level of Resolution Conference 11.3. So please look at Document 39, Annex 2. I open the floor to parties. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States also has edits to Resolution Conf 11.3, Rev CoP19 in Annex 2 to better align the language more closely with other international law enforcement related treaties. So our edits in Annex 2 are as follows. Paragraph 9, little b, would read, as appropriate, integrate financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife and increase the use of financial investigation techniques to identify, inserting, comma, investigate and prosecute persons, striking out criminals, continuing on with involved in wildlife crime, inserting, comma, including investigation of, striking out and, their networks and address associated, striking out illicit financial flows and replacing with laundering of the proceeds from these crimes. So the paragraph B would read, as appropriate, integrate financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife and increase the use of financial investigation techniques to identify, investigate, and prosecute persons involved in wildlife crime, including investigation of their networks and address associated laundering of the proceeds from these crimes. Thank you, Chair.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. I would like to get some views on the edits by the United States of America. And also, I just want to clarify, you're referring to 9D, right? Not 9B. No, it's
9B,
D.
paragraph little b.
There is no paragraph.
No, there's no 9D. In Annex 2, it is 9D. We are looking at paragraph 9D. The paragraph is the same. Yeah, so I think it's just, thank you.
Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the edits proposed by the United States, we do think that illicit financial flows is a broader term, and I would like to request feedback from the US, which treaties they are trying to align this with, just so we are clear, because we would prefer generally the original wording, given that it is more broader. But if it is just to take it more in line with other treaties, we would be fine to change it as well. Thank you.
United States of America, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This language is more commonly used in other contexts. However, we can also be okay with leaving it as illicit financial flows.
Any more views? Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We propose the original text for the paragraph 9.d. Thank you. Only for we support the proposal of the United States, but for the illicit financial flows, we propose the original text. Thank you.
Okay, see no more requests from the floor. The committee agree on the amendments adding a new subparagraph D to paragraph 9 under regarding enforcement at national level of Resolution Conference 11.3, Ref CoP19 on compliance and enforcement, with amendments made by the floor by USA and EU. So I'll read the paragraph again. As appropriate, integrate financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife and increase the use of financial investigation techniques to identify, investigate, and prosecute persons involved in wildlife crime, including investigation of their networks and address associated illicit financial flows from these crimes. Thank you, and I close Annex 2. Now we are at Annex 3 of Document 39 to maintain Decision 19.79. So Annex 3 of Document 39, the proposal is to maintain Decision 19.79 on enforcement. I open the floor to parties. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the decision to maintain 1979, in reviewing the costs and in light of ongoing concerns regarding limited resources, Canada would not support the renewal of this decision on guidance on measures to combat money laundering. We very much understand the underlying rationale and the value such guidance may have. However, we feel the expertise to provide such guidance is outside the convention and not necessarily a function of the Secretariat. We could support encouraging parties to avail themselves of expertise available through other competent bodies as an alternative. And if that were of support to other parties here, we could offer language, but first perhaps we'll just leave our proposal for discussion. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations, but I'm also looking for more views from parties on Canada's suggestion. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States is in support of maintaining Decision 19.79. In Annex 3, we would like to propose additional language to better align with priority actions identified by the Financial Action Task Force to integrate wildlife trafficking risks in national risk assessments. Therefore, we would propose inserting after with wildlife crime, we would insert including how they can identify and assess related risk and national risk assessments. Thank you, Chair.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We can support that addition from the US and would welcome hearing Canada's slightly alternative language for retaining this decision. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you. We can fully support the intervention by the UK. Thank you.
Canada, I'll give the floor to you for your proposed alternative language. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. As noted, our concern is directing the Secretariat to undertake this work. However, we do recognize the value. So we would propose instead directing a decision to parties. And so it would be striking subject to external funding the Secretariat shall work with. So we would strike that. And instead we would write, parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations, including bodies such as Interpol, UNODC, and other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force. So that would mean we would strike its partners in the international consortium. And then the decision would continue as written. Other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force and the Egmont Center of Financial Intelligence Unit Excellence and Leadership. And here we would strike to provide parties with and insert to seek assistance and then continue guidance on the measures. And Canada would be happy to support the insertion from the United States in the context of a decision directed to parties. And I can read it again as we would have it without just straight, if that would be helpful.
Yes, please, Canada.
Okay. So the decision would be directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations, including bodies such as Interpol, UNODC, and other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force and the Egmont Center of Financial Intelligence Unit Excellence and Leadership, to seek assistance and guidance on the measures they can take to combat money laundering associated with wildlife crime.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Canada.
Thank you, Chair.
I will read out the edits by both Canada and also US, and then I will seek views from the floor. So it will read now, directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations, including bodies such as Interpol, UNODC, and other bodies such as Financial Action Task Force, Egmont Center of Financial Intelligence, to seek assistance and guidance on the measures they can take to combat money laundering associated with wildlife crime, including how they can identify and assess related risks in national risk assessments, and to promote the integration of financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the addiction by Canada, and we just have a slight suggestion to change the wording. Subject to external funding, the Secretariat shall work with its partners in the international consortium. Okay, you mentioned about Interpol, WCO, that's fine. And other bodies, then we strike out, such as the Financial Task Force and the Egmont Center, because these two other bodies actually restrain the scope of cooperation. We think we can strike out the two concrete bodies and there remain other bodies. Thank you.
China, just to clarify, subject to external funding, the Secretariat shall work with its partners has been struck out
Yeah,
for Canada's amendment. So it will only read parties are encouraged
yeah.
to work. And you are proposing to remove Financial Action Task Force and EDMON.
Right.
Togo, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Le Canada, le texte tel que présenté le Canada paraît pour nous plus digestible. Donc, sur ce, le Togo soutient la proposition du Canada. Je vous remercie.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We can also support Canada's proposal, but would have a preference for, instead of the references to UNODC and Interpol, to retain the original language of partners in the International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, ICWIC, instead, and would like to retain the references to the Financial Action Task Force and Egmont Centre. Thank you.
Canada, I would like to seek your views on retaining the International Consortium on ICWIC inside the language, because essentially UNODC and Interpol are part of ICWIC. Are you agreeable to that?
Yes, Chair, we are agreeable. I think we pulled them out because they were the partners, but if it's easier to just reference the ICWIC, that's agreeable to us. Our main concern was directing it to parties. Thank you.
China, for your suggested removal of FEDF and EcoFel, I just wanted to check if, because in the paragraph it says such as, it's not binding for parties to work with them. You can choose to work with them because it's just such as. So I'm seeking if you're agreeable to just retain the text, retaining FEDF and EcoFel inside the paragraph. China, you have the floor.
Can we suggest that we retain other bodies such as FATF and strike out Egmont Center? Because Egmont Center of Financial Intelligence Unit Excellency and Leadership is not a governmental organization, and it's not so appropriate.
China, as explained, it is worded as such as, so it's an option that you can work with them or not. I'm trying to move on, so have a think about it. I will give Brazil the floor first, and I'll come back to you. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We fully support the proposition from China of removing the center, as it's not an international organization, and we think it's much wiser to refer only to multilateral agreements. Thank you very much.
Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Indonesia also support the text from the China to delete the Egmont. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And in this spirit of compromise, we can go with it. But we do like to clarify that the Egmont Center of Financial Intelligence and Unit Excellence and Leadership is part of FATF. So this, we just want to be clear that they are still part of the game and that they are part of FATF. So we think it is correct to mention them here as well as the correct partner. but we can go, as mentioned, in the spirit of compromise to delete them here. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Senegal, you have the floor.
Oui, merci Madame la Présidente. Je crois que toutes les suggestions se prévalent. Je crois que vous avez fait une formulation dans laquelle vous avez dit tel que. Donc ça permet de solliciter tout un chacun. Parce que je prends par exemple chez nous, dans nos États, dans la CEDEAO comme dans l'UEMOA, il y a ce qu'on appelle la CENTIF, la cellule d'analyse des financiers des flux au niveau national. Et ça permet de suivre les flux d'argent. Donc je crois que tel que, dans la formulation, permettrait à toute partie de s'adresser à une institution qui serait utile.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Is it possible to read out where we are? Because it seems that there's been a lot of edits, and this is a very important item for the United States. Thank you.
Okay, so just going back to the comment on the Egmont first before I repeat the whole paragraph. So on the Egmont Center of Financial Intelligence Unit Excellence and Leadership, it is already part of Financial Action Task Force. So, and with EU's compromise and also other countries' compromise, I will remove that. I will read out the whole para again, just to make sure we're on the same page. Directed to the parties. Parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations in the International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, ICWIC, and other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force to seek assistance and guidance on the measures they can take to combat money laundering associated with wildlife crime, including how they can identify and assess related risks in national risk assessments, and to promote the integration of financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife. I'll just go through one more time. Directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations in the International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, ICWIC, and other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, to seek assistance and guidance on the measures they can take to combat money laundering associated with wildlife crime, including how they can identify and assess related risks in national risk assessments, and to promote the integration of financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife. I open the floor. Any objections to the new paragraph? Or if you need me to repeat again, if you're not clear, please press your button. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you could repeat it again, it would be very helpful for us. Thank you.
Directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations in the International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, ICWIC, and other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, and to seek assistance and guidance on the measures they can take to combat money laundering associated with wildlife crime, including how they can identify and assess related risks in national risk assessments, and to promote the integration of financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife. Any objections from the floor? United States of America, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. We can support the will of the room. We just have concerns about removing the Secretariat from the entire decision, and if there's a way for either the Secretariat to support the parties, so encouraging parties with the support of the Secretariat. I think the Secretariat brings a lot of knowledge to this, and so if there's an opportunity to insert the Secretariat into a supporting role in this decision, I think it would be very amenable to the United States.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the intervention by the US. Thank you.
Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So I understand that the Secretariat is an IQUIC partner, and so there is a role through there in that parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations in the IQUIC, as you stated. So we think the role is there. If it helps provide further certainty, Canada would not object to say parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations with the support of the Secretariat. Our underlying concern as to why we brought this forward is because the original decision had the Secretariat providing guidance, and it had quite an extensive budgetary cost associated with it. And of course, we didn't think that the Secretariat themselves was the best position to provide such guidance. So again, Canada thinks that the Secretariat, as a partner in the IQUIC, has a role, and if it provides further comfort to include with the support of the Secretariat, Canada would not object to that. Thank you.
Okay, so I will read out the sentence to include the support of the Secretariat. So it will read, parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations in the International Consortium and Combating Wildlife Crime, IQUIC, with the support of Secretariat. Then it follows, and other bodies.
Yep, US is saying okay.
Okay, so no objection. I don't see any requesting for the floor, so I will, okay, so the committee agree on the amendments made to decision 19.79 with the amendments made on the floor by US and Canada. And sorry, I didn't write down all the parties, but anyway, I will read out the paragraph again just to make sure I'm correct. Okay. Directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to work with competent organizations in the International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime, ICWIC, with the support of the Secretariat and other bodies such as the Financial Action Task Force, to seek assistance and guidance on the measures they can take to combat money laundering associated with wildlife crime, including how they can identify and assess related risks in national risk assessments, and to promote the integration of financial crime investigations into the investigation of crimes involving wildlife. Thank you, and I close this item. So now we are looking at document 39, Annex 4. So we are looking to agree on decision 19.80, Ref CoP20, on annual illegal trade reports. So we are looking at document 39, Annex 4. I open the floor to parties. Kyrgyzstan, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Мы высоко оцениваем документ 39 и поддерживаем предложенные решения. Однако, чтобы усилить и обеспечить необходимое сотрудничество, включая межведомственный уровень для всесторонней отчетности по незаконной торговле дикой природой всеми сторонами и обеспечение доступности необходимых руководящих материалов, мы предлагаем добавить новые проекты решения в приложение 4 к документу 39. В дополнение к решению 1980 об ежегодных отчетах по незаконной торговле, которую мы поддерживаем, предлагаем следующее. Дополнить двумя пунктами. 1981. Сторонам рекомендуется усилить координацию и обмен данными между административными органами CITES, таможенными, пограничными и другими правоохранительными органами для обеспечения полноты и точности ежегодных отчетов по незаконной торговле, представляемых в секретариат CITES, поддерживая реализацию пункта 19.8b и улучшая качество представляемых данных и ежегодного отчета. А также пунктом 1982 сторонам, неправительственным и межправительственным организациям рекомендуется поддержать перевод руководства по ежегодным отчетам о незаконной торговле на дополнительные языки для повышения доступности в развитии языковой стратегии по расширению многоязычного доступа на сайте CITES на всех 6 языках ООН. Спасибо.
Kyrgyzstan, can I just clarify that you want to add new draft decisions to Annex 4?
Да. Дополнить двумя пунктами.
Could you please read it again slowly?
мы предлагаем дополнить двумя пунктами. 19.81. Сторонам рекомендуется усилить координацию и обмен данными между административными органами CITES, таможенными, пограничными и другими правоохранительными органами для обеспечения полноты и точности ежегодных отчетов по незаконной торговле, которые представляются в секретариат CITES, поддерживая реализацию пункта 19.80b и улучшая качество представляемых данных и ежегодного отчета. А также пункт 19.82. Сторонам, неправительственным и межправительственным организациям рекомендуется поддержать перевод руководства по ежегодным отчетам о незаконной торговле на дополнительные языки для повышения доступности. Это делается в развитии языковой стратегии по расширению многоязычного доступа на сайте CITES на всех 6 языках ООН.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Related to Decision 1980 in Annex 4, we would like to propose non-substantive edits to little a to clarify the decision as non-binding. We would propose replacing accordance with line and replacing requirements agreed with criteria decided. So little a would read, continue its work with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, ensuring that the CITES illegal trade database and its data dissemination platform are maintained in line with the criteria decided by the Conference of the Parties. Thank you, Chair.
Kazakhstan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We support the new draft decision in CoP20, document 39, Annex 4, proposed by Kyrgyzstan, and we are also additionally propose include new point, the following directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to use the CITES illegal trade database to inform national and international enforcement effort to address unsustainable and illegal trade. Maybe 1983 point.
Can you repeat again?
Directed to parties. Parties are encouraged to use the CITES illegal wildlife trade database to inform national and international enforcement efforts to address unsustainable and illegal trade.
Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Российская Федерация поддерживает предложения коллег из Кыргызстана. Спасибо.
Uzbekistan, you have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Узбекистан также поддерживает внесенные рекомендательные такие предложения, за исключением одного корректирующего такого момента. Слово «рекомендации» это имеет в виду рекомендательный характер, не обязательный характер. Может быть, заменить его словом «поддерживает ННО» в проведении таких работ по переводу, например, или каких-то других действий. Именно не рекомендательный характер, чтобы был. Спасибо.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the suggestion by the US on the improvement on the wording in 19.80, we can agree to that. Regarding the new draft decisions suggested by Kyrgyzstan, and I hope we captured it all correctly, the first draft decision regarding parties to be encouraged to improve their reporting by interagency consultation is fine for us, and we can agree to that. However, regarding the second draft decision proposed by Kyrgyzstan, we do like to point out that the annual illegal trade reports are not public. These reports are made by parties and then submitted to feed into a database. So, first of all, NGOs and IGOs cannot and should not support this because these are not public reports, so they cannot translate them. And for parties as well, given that these are reports that feed into a database, we are not sure what the benefit of translating them is before sending them, because these are basically database entries. And the database, the access of the UNODC database is also not public. It's only available to parties. So in that regard, this is also not possible. And we therefore do not agree with the second draft decision proposed by Kyrgyzstan. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. I'll give the Secretariat the floor to do some clarification on the illegal report.
Thank you, Chair. And in terms of the second decision proposed by Kyrgyzstan, I think it would be helpful if that support by NGOs and IGOs for translation could be to translate the guidelines for completion of the annual illegal trade report and not necessarily the reports itself. I think that might have been the intention, but that would probably be helpful. Thank you.
Kyrgyzstan, you have the floor.
Спасибо большое. Очень правильное уточнение было сейчас. Мы хотели именно получить перевод руководства, а не самих отчетов. Спасибо.
Thank you. So for the US amendment on 19.80 to amend 19.80 little a to change accordance to line, and then requirements to change the criteria decided, and also remove agreed. I think I didn't see objection for that, so I will take that as agreed. Now I will go to Kyrgyzstan's additional draft decisions. So this is the language that we have. So 20AA, parties are recommended to enhance coordination, information exchange between CITES customs, border, and other authorities to ensure completeness of reports to CITES. I repeat again, parties are recommended to enhance coordination, information exchange between CITES, sorry, I just repeat again. Parties are recommended to enhance coordination and information exchange between CITES management authorities, customs, border, and other authorities to ensure completeness of reports to CITES. So I will just seek views for this first, 20AA. Is it clear, or do you need me to repeat? Please press your button if you need me to repeat. Okay, I'll repeat one more time.
Chair.
Parties are recommended to enhance coordination and information exchange between CITES management authorities, customs, border, and other authorities to ensure completeness of annual illegal trade reports to CITES. I would like to see the floor for any objection on this new draft decision. Okay, I see no request from the floor, so this is agreed. I will go to the next one, 20BB. Parties, NGOs, and IGOs are encouraged to support translation of the guidelines in 6 UN languages. I repeat again, parties, NGOs, and IGOs are encouraged to support translation of guidelines in 6 UN languages. I'm looking at the floor for any objection. Okay, before I take the interventions, I just repeat again. Parties, NGOs, and IGOs are encouraged to support translation of the guidelines for preparing and submitting annual illegal trade reports in 6 UN languages. I'll just review again, yeah. Okay, so parties, NGOs, and IGOs are encouraged to support translation of guidelines for preparing and submitting annual illegal trade reports in 6 UN languages. I'm looking for the floor for any objections to this new draft decision 20BB. Okay, I see no request from the floor. I will move to Kazakhstan's new proposed draft decision 20CC. Parties are encouraged to use CITES illegal trade database to inform national and international enforcement efforts to address unsustainable and illegal wildlife trade. I repeat again, parties are encouraged to use CITES illegal trade database to inform national and international enforcement efforts to address unsustainable and illegal wildlife trade. I'm looking to the floor for any strong objections to this new draft decision. Okay, seeing no request for the floor, we will accept this new draft decision. So the committee agrees to decision 19.80 with the amendments by the US, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan. So I'll just quickly go through again the amendments. So by the US will be in little para A, deletion of accordance and a change to line with the criteria decided by the Conference of Parties. Additional 28A, parties are recommended to enhance coordination and information exchange between CITES management authorities, customs, border, and other authorities to ensure completeness of annual illegal trade reports to CITES. 20BB, parties, NGOs, and IGOs are encouraged to support translation of guidelines for preparing and submitting annual illegal trade reports in 6 UN languages. 20CC, parties are encouraged to use CITES illegal trade database to inform national and international enforcement efforts to address unsustainable and illegal wildlife trade. Thank you, and I close this agenda item. Sorry, I close this Annex 4. Now we move on to document 39, Annex 5, to agree on the draft decisions on wildlife crime linked to the internet. We are looking at document 39, Annex 5. I open the floor to parties. I open the floor to parties, to non-parties and observer organizations. Okay, seeing no request from the floor, the committee agrees to the draft decisions on wildlife crime linked to the internet as contained in Annex 5. Now we're looking at document 39, Annex 6, to look at the draft decisions on task force on illegal trade in specimens of CITES listed tree species and renewed decision 19.89. So we are looking at document 39, Annex 6. I open the floor to parties. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Related to Annex 6, we would propose amendments to include involvement of the Plants Committee. We propose draft decision 20AA little c to report to the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee. And draft decision 20BB would be directed to the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee. And the Plants Committee and Standing Committee shall consider the report. Thank you, Chair.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. I'm looking at any objections to the edit by the United States of America to include the Plants Committee. Okay, seeing no request from the floor, I will read out the edit. So in 20AA little c, report to the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee. Then the sentence follows. And then the next para, directed to the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee. 20BB, the Plants Committee and the Standing Committee shall consider the report and recommendations. Okay, I see no requests from the floor. We will accept the draft decision as contained in Annex 6 with the amendments made on the floor by the United States of America to include the Plants Committee. And I close this annex. Thank you. Next, we will look at deleting decisions 19.77 and 19.78 on enforcement, 19.81 to 19.83 on wildlife crime linked to the internet, and 19.90 and 19.91 on task force on illegal trade in specimens of CITES listed tree species. I open the floor to parties, non-parties and observer organizations. I see no requests from the floor. So the committee agrees to delete decisions 19.77 and 19.78 on enforcement, 19.81 to 19.83 on wildlife crime linked to the internet, and 19.90 and 19.91 on task force on illegal trade in specimens of CITES listed tree species. Thank you very much, and we have completed document 39. Thank you. I now open Agenda 40. The document is submitted by the Standing Committee. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt the proposed new draft decisions found in the annex and delete old decisions. I would also like to draw your attention that the Secretariat has recommended a minor edit to 20BB. A minor edit by the Secretariat to 20BB to add subject to extra budgetary resources. I now open the floor to parties. Thank you. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame. Le Sénégal estime que le travail qui a été fait par le secrétariat, le comité permanent est très bien et on doit le soutenir parce que la fraude où elle est localisée doit être combattue. Merci.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Cameroon, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous remercions le secrétariat en consultation avec la présidente du comité permanent pour la mise à disposition de ce document dont l'annexe présente les projets de décision 20AA et 20DD relatifs au soutien à la lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages. en Afrique de l'Ouest et en Afrique centrale soumis pour adoption par la conférence des parties, tout en soutenant pleinement l'adoption des projets de décision 20A à 20DD tels que présentés dans l'annexe du document COP20 DOC 40. Nous souhaitons attirer l'attention de la conférence des parties sur les points suivants. Concernant le point 6, nous insistons sur la nécessité que la discussion visant à déterminer un mécanisme de financement approprié pour cette question puisse aboutir à des propositions concrètes. Au point 7, alinéa C, le questionnaire adressé aux parties, aux organisations internationales et aux organisations non gouvernementales doit être dûment complété par l'ensemble des acteurs concernés et finalisé par le groupe de travail. Au point 14, relatif à la recommandation d'adopter le projet de décision, il est important d'inclure une période clairement définie pour la tenue du forum envisagé, ce qui n'apparaît pas encore dans le document, et de veiller à ce que, lors de ce forum, des indications précises soient fournies quant aux modalités d'accès au financement destiné à appuyer les efforts des parties pour la mise en œuvre de la CITES et la lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages. Merci, Madame.
Mali, you have the floor.
Merci bien, Madame la Présidente. Le Mali félicite le comité permanent pour ce document et nous les soutenons. Merci.
Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Gabon souscrit à ce que venait de dire le Cameroun. Je vous remercie.
I'm going to close the speaker list because I see support for the adoption of the draft decisions. I'll take one last speaker. Congo, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Congo souscrit dans le sens de l'amendement apporté par le Cameroun. Merci.
Okay, so the committee accepts the draft decisions in document COP20.40, including the Secretariat's edit to 20BB(b). And the committee also accepts the deletion of decisions 18.90 RefCop 19, 18.91 RefCop 19, 19.84, 19.85, 19.86, 19.87, and 19.88. Thank you, and I close this agenda item. I now go to document 31, agenda 31. This document is submitted by the Standing Committee and reports on the implementation of the COP19 decisions. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt the decisions contained in an annex and delete decisions 19.55 to 19.57. I open the floor to parties. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Malaysia thanked the Standing Committee for preparing the document. Malaysia supports the draft decision in the annex. However, Malaysia seeks clarification on the platform through which parties can share their experience and best practices in implementing the guidelines stated in annex. Malaysia also supports the deletion of decision 19.55 to 19.57, but Malaysia proposed that the element in decision 19.55(d), which concern the provision of necessary technical support for the use of the guidance, be either retained or incorporated into the new draft decision 20AA in the annex to ensure that parties continue to receive adequate technical guidance for future implementation of the guidelines. Thank you, Chair.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India wishes to thank Standing Committee for the document. India, as a mega biodiverse country and a source, transit, and consumer, acknowledges the importance of such measure. India encourages further collaboration among parties, technical agencies, and NGOs for impactful demand reduction campaigns. India supports its commitment to supporting CITES in achieving its objectives and looks forward for actively contributing to collective global efforts in reducing demand for illegally traded species. India wishes to add the following paragraph after C in the draft decision 20A of Annex 1 to CoP20 Doc 31. D. Collaborate through appropriate forums for impactful demand reduction. Thank you, Chair.
India, please repeat again. Thank you.
What is it?
Can you repeat, ma'am?
Could you repeat your edits again?
Yeah.
For 20.
India wished to add the following paragraph after C in the draft decision 20A of the Annex 1. That is the D. It add D. Collaborate through appropriate forums for impactful demand reduction.
Thank you. Malaysia, can I just seek clarification on do you have language or text to insert into 20AA?
Madam Chair, the decision for 20AA should be the same as what's stated in 19.55 little d.
Malaysia, I would just like to clarify for 19.55 little d, it's a decision directed to Secretariat to support all interested parties. So your insertion will be into Annex 20BB instead of 20AA? And it's already in 20BB little c.
Correct, thank you.
So you will not need another insertion to 20AA, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Benin, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Bénin supporte l'adoption du projet de décision tel que présenté par le comité permanent et appuie la suppression des décisions 1955 à 1957. Merci.
I open the floor to non-parties observer organizations. I will give the floor to the Secretariat to clarify Malaysia's question on which platform to share. Secretariat, please.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Malaysia for this appropriate and pertinent question. In addition to the appropriate fora mentioned by India, I would like to inform you that the CITES Secretariat has created a new web page on demand reduction, in which we have included a couple of case studies, and if parties have additional case studies that they wish to share on their experiences on demand reduction, we are most happy to include those on that web page as well. So just to let you know that there is a web page on demand reduction on the CITES website already. Thank you so much.
Going back to India's suggestion to include a paragraph under 20AA on parties are invited to collaborate through appropriate forums for impactful demand reduction. I just want to get views on that from the floor. Any strong objection to the inclusion of collaboration? Okay, I do not see any objection from the floor. So the committee accepts the draft decisions in document CoP20, document 31, with the proposed amendment by India to include under 20AA, collaborate through appropriate forums for impactful demand reduction, and also the deletion of decisions 19.55 to 19.57. Thank you, and I close this agenda item. Okay, a reminder to parties, we are going to agenda 35.3 on Toto Abbas. 35.3, Toto Abbas. The document is submitted by the Standing Committee. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt the new draft decisions on Toto Abbas and delete the old decisions 18.292, Ref COP 19 to 18.295, Ref COP 19, and 19.74 to 19.76. I now open the floor for parties. United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to call the committee's attention to Information Document 72. The United States acknowledges and appreciates the continued progress made by Mexico, in particular in the zero tolerance area. The United States expresses gratitude to Mexico and China for electing us as the new chair of the Trilateral Enforcement Contact Group, or TECG. We are fully committed to carrying out the TECG's purpose to improve information sharing to combat the illegal trade of totuaba and eliminate supply and demand of these illegally possessed specimens. But the United States remains concerned about Mexico's failure to fully implement all milestones of its Compliance Action Plan and lack of enforcement of Mexico's 2020 agreement in the Upper Gulf of California. We note that many of the original deadlines in the Compliance Action Plan have passed without achievement. The situation in the Upper Gulf of California is critical and urgent, as illegal harvest of totuaba has been a persistent problem that continues to jeopardize the survival of the vaquita, a species on the edge of extinction. CITES' aim is to ensure that international trade in CITES listed species does not threaten the survival of species in the wild. Although both species are included in Appendix 1, implementation, compliance, and enforcement of the associated protections are lacking. The United States strongly believes that compliance matters should be treated seriously and should be dealt with in an equitable manner across all parties of the convention. In the spirit of collaboration on this critical issue, the United States and Mexico worked jointly to draft edits to the proposed draft decision on totuaba to reflect the urgency of the situation. In particular, we note the importance of taking into account updated information regarding the documented distribution of vaquita to analyze and adjust the boundaries of the zero tolerance area and vaquita refuge area. This will help to ensure that enforcement efforts to prevent illegal fishing and allocation of resources are more targeted to the key areas upon which vaquita are dependent. I will turn to my colleague to introduce Mexico's and the United States joint edits to the draft decisions in the annex to COP20, Doc 25 totuaba.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the United States and Mexico have some agreed upon edits to the draft decisions. The first edit is found in draft decision 20BB, directed to parties affected by illegal fishing and trafficking of totoabas. In subparagraph C, towards the end of the document, when it makes reference to the meeting of the range transit and consumer states of totoaba, we'd like to strike the word agreed to talk about the non-binding language of the outcome, so striking out agreed. In regards to draft decision 20DD directed to Mexico, we'd like to put in a new subparagraph A that reads, fully achieve all milestones of targets in the Compliance Action Plan no later than the 81st meeting of the Standing Committee. In subparagraph C, which was old subparagraph B, we'd like to strike the word vaquita from the reference of the vaquita zero tolerance area, in parentheses ZO, for accuracy. Under the new subparagraph C, old subparagraph B, little I, implementing, and we'd like to insert N, maintaining a strict zero tolerance policy. In subparagraph little IV4, we'd like to insert some text, so it reads, maintaining resources to ensure uninterrupted gill net removal, new text added, throughout the designated area in the upper Gulf of California, and then continuing on, and to take all necessary measures to destroy confiscated nets. In subparagraph, the old one was F, the new one would be G. It should say take urgent measures, urgent is new, urgent measures to address illegal totoaba fishing displaced elsewhere due to the strengthened measures deployed in the ZO and the VRA. We have a new subparagraph I that reads, take into account updated information regarding the documented distribution of vaquita to analyze and consider adjusting the boundaries of the ZO and the VRA and ensure that enforcement efforts to prevent illegal fishing are fully implemented in these designated areas, semicolon, and. And then we have one more edit to the last draft decision, 20FF, that's directed to China, Mexico, and the United States. And in the last sentence, that reads, starts off with on the activities conducted. We like to change from in accordance with to consistent with to reference the non-binding. So it would read China, Mexico, and the United States are requested to jointly submit through the chair of the Trilateral Enforcement Contact Group a report to the 81st meeting of the Standing Committee on the activities conducted consistent with the TECG terms of reference, as well as associated results achieved as appropriate. And then actually we have one more edit to 20HH, my apologies. And this one is directed to the Standing Committee regarding the reporting. 20HH reads, the Standing Committee shall review the reporting submitted by the parties and the Secretariat in accordance with Decision 20CC to 20GG and make, new text, the necessary recommendations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I just want to go through the edits again, make sure I got them all. So the first one is 20BB little c to remove agreed before outcomes document, correct? Okay. And the next one is directed to Mexico, 20DD, a new para A, little a, fully achieve all milestones no later than 81st Standing Committee. Can you just give me the text again?
So the new subparagraph A under 20DD directed to Mexico is fully achieve all milestones of targets in the Compliance Action Plan no later than the 81st meeting of the Standing Committee.
Okay, thank you. And then in the new para C is to remove fajita, correct? Before the zero tolerance area. And then in the new para C, 2, numerical 2 is, sorry, Roman 2 is implementing and maintaining. And then in 4 is to include gill net removal throughout the designated areas in the Upper Gulf of California. And in the new para G, take urgent measures. New para H, remove the N at the end. New para I, take into account updated information regarding the documented distribution of the fajita to analyze and consider adjusting the boundaries in the ZO and VRA and ensure that enforcement efforts to prevent illegal fishing are fully implemented in these designated areas. And 20FF, remove in accordance and replace with consistent. 20HH, and make the necessary recommendations and to delete as appropriate, as in delete the word as appropriate. Okay, thank you. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Switzerland is pleased that some progress has been made by Mexico since COP19. However, the fact that over 800 kilograms of totoaba swim bladders have been seized this year shows that illegal fishing remains a major problem. It is also undisputed that Mexico cannot solve the problem alone, but that transit countries such as the US and destination countries such as China must also step up their efforts. However, Mexico remains primarily responsible and must still provide definitive proof that everything possible is being done to save the totoaba and the vaquita. For decades, the International Whaling Commission, as the central organization for cetaceans, and later many members of CITES, at several COPs have been drawing attention to the critical situation. During this time, the vaquita population has declined from several hundred to the approximately 10 specimens that remain today. During this period, missions were carried out by the Secretariat, and Mexico received considerable support from many parties and organizations in all areas. If action had been taken earlier, we would be further ahead today, and the vaquita might already have been saved. The next few years will show whether it is already too late. If we want to preserve this small chance, areas with complete or partial prohibition of fishing activities must be extended to areas where there is evidence of the vaquita's presence. This must happen now. Likewise, all agreed points must finally be implemented. It looks nice when for 80 or 90% the color green, fulfilled, is used. But it is not enough if the central points are not implemented. We need 100%, and this must be achieved quickly. Decisions we make for individual species can have a positive but also a negative effect on other species. Regardless of how the story of the vaquita will end, the example of the totoaba vaquita clearly shows us that the uncontrolled exploitation of one species can have a fatal effect on other species. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mexico, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. México agradece a la Secretaría sus recomendaciones y el reconocimiento que hace a nuestro país por los esfuerzos y progresos en el cumplimiento del Plan de Acción. Expresamos nuestro acuerdo con las recomendaciones hechas por el Secretariado y con las pequeñas enmiendas en el documento informativo número 72 que de manera conjunta elaboramos Estados Unidos y México y que también dialogamos y acordamos con China. Señora Presidenta, colegas, como lo indica el informe de la Secretaría, En estos casi 3 años hemos cumplido satisfactoriamente 87 de los 101 acciones y tenemos un muy buen avance en las restantes. Entre estas, los que quisiera destacar están el fortalecimiento de las acciones de inspección y vigilancia, que además de permitir la judicialización de casos, ha disminuido en 97% la actividad de embarcaciones en la zona de mayor protección para la vaquita. Aunado a estos trabajos, el día miércoles, la Cámara de Diputados aprobó por unanimidad modificaciones al Código Penal de México para incrementar sustancialmente las sanciones por delitos que afectan la vida silvestre. Este es uno de los grandes retos que se enfrentan en muchos países, donde las penas son mínimas y los grupos criminales lo aprovechan porque las sanciones realmente no afectan financieramente sus actividades. En otra línea de trabajo, permítanme informar que reactivamos nuestro trabajo con el Comité Internacional para la Recuperación de la Vaquita Marina como órgano científico asesor que nos permite revisar y mejorar las acciones y estrategias a aplicar. En los trabajos de monitoreo, en los que este año hemos redoblado esfuerzos y donde contamos con el apoyo de organizaciones como Sea Shepherd, tenemos resultados que nos ofrecen avistamientos esperanzadores sobre la población de vaquita marina. Nos muestran que la especie es resiliente y que está respondiendo positivamente a las condiciones de protección que estamos construyendo para ella. El último monitoreo, tanto acústico como visual, nos permitió avistar entre 7 y 10 individuos, 2 crías y, al parecer, una hembra embarazada. Tenemos claro que los resultados que queremos son aún mayores, pero ver nadar a las vaquitas en el Golfo de California da un sentido a nuestros trabajos, mayor esperanza y mayor compromiso para construir con las comunidades de la región medios de vida alternativos, sustentables y que ofrezcan condiciones de prosperidad y bienestar social. Presidenta, colegas, quiero también agradecer a las organizaciones de la sociedad civil, nacionales e internacionales interesadas en esta zona y en este caso en particular. Trabajar como aliados es una gran oportunidad para todos. Partir de los puntos de acuerdo nos fortalece y ayuda a alcanzar los objetivos que perseguimos. En el trabajo entre México, Estados Unidos y China,
Mexico, please wrap up. Thank you.
a punto de terminar, Presidenta, estamos también fortaleciendo nuestra comunicación y coordinación. Esto permitirá mejorar los resultados del grupo trilateral y combatir conjuntamente este tipo de delitos que afectan al mundo y a nuestros países. Por ello, gracias a China y a Estados Unidos por estar en esta importante cruzada juntos, asumiendo nuestra responsabilidad compartida. Finalmente, quisiera reconocer aquí a las comunidades pesqueras del Alto Golfo de California, con quienes afortunadamente tenemos cada vez un mejor diálogo y con quien seguiremos trabajando con mucha cercanía. Muchas gracias, Presidenta.
China, you have the floor.
Can you hear me? Thank you, Madam Chair. China has no objection to proposed amendments and would like to commend Mexico for its impressive progress in implementing the Compliance Action Plan. In the recent years, China maintains sustained enforcement pressure against the illegal tobacco trade. Recent data shows a significant overall decline in cases and seizures compared to previous years, demonstrating that our sustained enforcement efforts are yielding positive results. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The European Union and its member states would like to thank the Secretariat for this report
and acknowledge the progress made by Mexico as well as the United States and China. We support the recommendations made by the Secretariat in the document and the deletion of decisions 18.292 Rev COP 19 to 18.295 Rev COP 19 and 19.74 to 19.76. We have seen the information documents made available first by the United States and then most recently jointly by the United States and Mexico. We support the amendments to these recommendations made by the United States and Mexico in Information Document 72 as presented to this committee by the United States. In particular, we support the suggestion to adjust the boundaries of the zero tolerance area and the Vaquita refuge area to encompass the documented distribution of the species, as well as to ensure that enforcement efforts to prevent illegal fishing are fully implemented in these designated areas. Finally, we would like to signal once again that the commercialization of Totoaba swim bladders poses a risk by maintaining or even increasing demand for this product, which in turn could further endanger the already critically small Vaquita population. Thank you very much.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As noted at SC 79, the UK would like to acknowledge the considerable progress that Mexico has made in implementing its compliance action plan. The information so far presented to the COP demonstrates its renewed commitment to the recovery of Totoaba and the Vaquita. We would also like to acknowledge the considerable efforts of the US, China, and the Trilateral Enforcement Contact Group, recognizing that coordinated action among all affected parties is required to eliminate supply and demand for illegally sourced specimens of Totoaba. We remain, however, concerned by the urgent status of the Vaquita and note that this prompted the International Whaling Commission to issue its first ever extinction alert in August 2023. A core message of that alert, though, was that despite the small number of surviving animals, extinction is not yet inevitable. We therefore welcome the comprehensive framework of decisions proposed in document 35.3 and remain open to reasonable and proportionate suggestions to strengthen them further. We thank the US and Mexico for their further consideration of the draft decisions, and we strongly support the amendments as proposed in InfoDoc 72. In particular, we welcome the amendment to 20DD(a) to set a deadline of SC 81 for the full implementation of all aspects of the CAP, in line with the language agreed at SC 79. And like the EU, we welcome the amendment to 20DD(i) to take into account updated information regarding the documented Vaquita distribution in analysis of the boundaries of the ZO and VRA. Finally, the UK recognises the important narrative we have heard from Mexico today and throughout this COP on the importance of meaningful collaboration with local communities to ensure a successful transition to sustainable fisheries and implement the CAP. To support this shared objective of saving the Vaquita and providing for sustainable fishing livelihoods, we would highlight for parties' attention the constructive recommendations contained within the report of the 12th meeting of the International Committee for the Recovery of the Vaquita, SERVA. This includes exploring the feasibility of areas where gill nets are effectively prohibited and only specific Vaquita-safe gear types are permitted and incentivized, such as a revised zero-tolerance area, as well as areas for effective testing and evaluation of Vaquita-safe gear with sufficient density of preferred target fishery species. Thank you.
I see from the floor general strong support for the draft decisions amended by US and Mexico, so I will close the speaker list. Brazil, India, Kenya, Panama, and Rwanda. Brazil, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, Madame la Presidenta, señora la Presidenta. Brasil gustaría de felicitar a México por los esfuerzos para la conservación de la vaquita marina. Por cuanto de eso, Brasil apoya el contenido de las recomendaciones del documento con las enmiendas presentadas por Estados Unidos en el documento de información. Gracias.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India supports the edits and amendments to Doc 35.3 as suggested by United States and Mexico. Thank you, Chair.
Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. At the 78th Standing Committee and the recent 79th Standing Committee meeting, Mexico provided an elaborate reporting on progress in implementation of its compliance action plan regarding preventing the illegal fishing of and trade in Totoaba for the protection of vaquita. Kenya commends Mexico for the progress in and the near completion in the implementation of the Compliance Action Plan, and China and the US for the tripartite collaboration and cooperation with Mexico towards addressing illegal fishing and trade in Totoaba. Kenya therefore supports adoption of the draft decision 20AA to 20HH with the amendments made by the US. Thank you.
Panama, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias. Como es la primera vez que mi gobierno toma la palabra en este comité, quisiéramos agradecer al gobierno de Uzbekistán por su amable acogida y también a la Secretaría por su arduo trabajo organizando este evento. Panamá desea expresar su agradecimiento a los gobiernos de México y Estados Unidos y China por su trabajo y por haber alcanzado un entendimiento que se presenta en el documento COP20 72. Reconoce los esfuerzos de México por la conservación de la vaquita. Este logro es una muestra del compromiso de las partes y evidencia una vez más de los propósitos de la Convención. En resumen, Panamá apoya este documento y felicita a las partes por los avances alcanzados. Muchas gracias, Madam Chair.
Rwanda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Since Rwanda is taking the floor for the first time, we would like to congratulate you, Chair, on your election and commend your leadership. We also wish to extend our sincere gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for the warm welcome and excellent hosting of this important meeting. Rwanda wishes to commend Mexico's comprehensive effort to combating illegal fishing and trade in Totoaba and to the protection and conservation of critical endangered vaquita. Rwanda supports the draft recommendations made by the Secretariat and the amendment made by United States. Thank you, Chair.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. Sea Shepherd Conservation Society.
Thank you, Chair. The statement is on behalf of Pro Natura Noreste and Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, two of only a few organizations consistently working in the upper Gulf of California to save vaquita and Totoaba. We welcome Mexico's efforts to address the illegal fishing of Totoaba, advance vaquita conservation, engage local communities in alternative fishing and livelihoods, and to implement the Compliance Action Plan. We support and urge the parties to adopt and fully implement the draft decisions on Totoaba and COP20, document 35.3 annex, with the amendments from the United States and Mexico. We urge Mexico to work with the fishing community and NGOs to amend the boundaries of the zero tolerance area and vaquita refuge to align with the documented distribution of the vaquita, and to ensure that enforcement efforts to prevent illegal fishing and gillnet fishing are fully implemented in these designated areas. Sea Shepherd remains committed to continued monitoring of the ZTA and the vaquita refuge in partnership with the Mexican Navy to prevent illegal fishing and ensure these areas are free of gillnets. Sea Shepherd will also continue to support Mexico in its efforts to acoustically and visually monitor these areas to assess the vaquita population. Pro Natura will continue supporting community monitoring efforts and citizen science. Pro Natura will also continue supporting alternative gear development and building sustainable fishing gear markets with added value. Our collaboration with the communities of the Upper Gulf of California and the government of Mexico is achieving results and offers the best hope for the recovery of the vaquita and Totoaba. Thank you.
AWI, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
This intervention is made on behalf of a number of organizations whose names will be provided to the Secretariat. We appreciate the Secretariat's work on this issue and recognize Mexico's progress on implementing its compliance action plan on Totoaba. Nevertheless, illegal gillnet fishing continues across large areas of the Vaquita Refuge, including where vaquitas are known to exist. While recent surveys confirm the vaquita's continued existence, with a minimum of only 7 to 10 animals, the population remains incredibly small and gravely threatened by bycatch in illegally set gill nets, especially for Totoaba. Enforcement by authorities has improved, but still remains inadequate. Key provisions of the Compliance Action Plan remain incomplete. Several articles of the 2020 agreement have not been implemented, and work on vaquita-safe fishing gear was stalled for years and only recently revived. Given the vaquita's critical status, this is arguably the most urgent issue before COP20, and action must match the scale of the crisis. We support the amendments proposed by the United States and Mexico to the decision text in Doc 35.3. However, we urge parties to shorten the deadline for Mexico to fully implement its compliance action plan to 1 February 2026 and not by the 81st meeting of the Standing Committee. The illegal Totoaba season will begin within weeks and will continue through May. Consequently, continued delay in implementing the compliance action plan could cost the vaquita its last chance. Madam Chair, if Mexico fails to fully implement the provisions outlined in Decision 20DD in Doc 35.3 within the stipulated timeframe, the Standing Committee should consider adopting additional measures, including recommending the suspension of trade in CITES-listed species with Mexico until full compliance with the obligations set forth in the CITES Compliance Action Plan and measures related to the conservation.
Could I request that you wrap up? Thank you.
And measures related to the conservation of vaquita and Totoaba is demonstrated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Kazakhstan, I see you on the requesting for the floor. I've already closed the speaker list. In general, there is support for the draft decisions. So can I request that you not take the floor? And I'll just close this item now. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've already closed the speaker list. Thank you. So the committee accepts the draft decisions on Totoabas with the proposed amendments by Mexico and the United States of America, which can be referred to in the Info Doc 72. The committee also accepts the deletion of decisions 18.292, Ref CoP19, to 18.295, Ref CoP19, and 19.74 to 19.76. Thank you, and I close this agenda item. I now open the agenda item 41, CITES Big Cats Task Force. 41. The document is submitted by the Standing Committee. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt the draft decisions on illegal trade in big cats contained in the annex and delete decisions 19.92 and 19.93. I open the floor to parties. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Malaysia expresses its full support for the draft decisions on the illegal trade in big cats as contained in the annex to the present document. We recognize that these updated decisions build upon the progress made since COP19 in Panama and strengthen the collective efforts to address the persistent threats posed by illegal trade to all big cat species. Malaysia would like to thank the Secretariat and Uganda for the successful implementation of the CITES Big Cats Task Force meeting and supports the deletion of Decision 19.92 and 19.93. Malaysia remains committed to working closely with parties, range states, and the Secretariat to ensure that efforts against illegal trade in big cats are comprehensive, coordinated, and impactful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We value the work done by the Big Cat Task Force. We fully support the adoption of the draft decision on illegal trade in big cats contained in the annex to the document, and the lead decisions 1992 and 19.93 on the CITES Big Cat Task Force. Thank you.
Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania commends the Standing Committee for the comprehensive preparation of this report and reaffirms its strong commitment to the effective implementation of the relevant decisions. Madam Chair, Tanzania, as a range state for the majority of the African big cat species, actively participated in the CITES Big Cat Task Force meeting held in Entebbe, Uganda, from the 24th to 28th of April 2023. This meeting was convened back-to-back with the second range state meeting of the CITES CMC Joint African Carnivores Initiatives held from the 1st to 4th of May 2023 in Entebbe. Madam Chair, the United Republic of Tanzania aligns itself with the Secretariat recommendations, including the adoption of the draft decisions contained in Annex 1 of the present document to ensure fully and effective implementation of the outcome of the CITES Big Cat Task Force meeting. Additionally, URT supports the deletion of the decisions 19.92 and 19.93 as these have been fully implemented. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Benin, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Bénin fait aussi partie de l'aire de répartition des grands félins et comme l'a dit mon prédécesseur, nous étions aussi à la réunion organisée par la CMS et la CITES et c'est une très grande préoccupation. Pour cela, nous soutenons la proposition qui a été faite, comme l'a déjà fait la Malaisie et l'Union européenne. Merci.
Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Uganda is happy to have hosted the Big Cats Task Force meeting, and we believe that great deliberations were made at the meeting. We are also a range state for the big cats, and we align ourselves with the decisions as included in the document. Thank you.
I do see support for the draft decisions in the document, so I will close the speaker list now. I have Liberia, Rwanda, Kenya, and India. Liberia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Liberia being one of the range states of the Big Cat and being part of the workshop called by CMS in Entebbe, Uganda, Liberia does support the proposal. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Rwanda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Rwanda also commends the successful convening of the task force meeting in Entebbe, Uganda, and the development of the outcome document, which provides a robust framework of strategies and measures to combat illegal trade in big cats. Rwanda, as a range state, also aligns itself with the recommendation in the document. Thank you, Chair.
Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Kenya, like previous speakers who have spoken in support of adoption of the recommendations in this document, would like to thank Uganda for hosting the meeting as coordinated by the Secretariat, and we support the adoption of the recommendations and the decisions as contained in this document. Thank you.
I open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Standing Committee for the document CoP20 Doc 41. India supposes draft decision contained in the next CoP20 Doc 41 on illegal trade in big cats. However, India also supports the suggestion put forth by United States in the draft. India would also like this opportunity to encourage all parties with big cats to join India's initiative of International Big Cat Alliance for fostering cooperation in conservation of big cats among these range countries. Thank you, Chair.
India, I don't think United States of America made any edits to the document because you mentioned it in your intervention. So it's just the draft decisions, which is as original inside the document. There were no edits done. Yes, India, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. That's fine.
Niger, I've closed the speaker list already, and I hear support for adoption of the draft decision, so I will go ahead and accept the decision, and I will not open the floor again. Thank you, Niger. So the committee accepts the draft decisions on illegal trade in big cats contained in document CoP20, document 41. The committee also accepts the deletion of decisions 19.92 and 19.93, and I conclude this agenda item. Thank you. We are now at document 45, illegal trade in cheetahs. The document is submitted by the Standing Committee. The Conference of Parties is invited to adopt the proposed draft decisions on illegal trade in cheetahs and delete the old decisions 19.104 to 19.106. I will open the floor to parties. Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Kuwait note that document 45 fully duplicate the substantive work already captured in document 41. Document 45 repeatedly refers to the CITES Big Cat Task Force and relies on the same strategies, enforcement measures, and the same draft decisions 20AA, 20CC, already present in document 41. Document 45, paragraphs 4 to 6 make it clear that the implementation of the cheetah-related work is already embedded with the Big Cat Task Force framework established under the document 41, which covers all illegal trade in big cat species. To ensure efficiency, coherence, and optimal use of the limited financial resources, Kuwait believes that maintaining both documents creates unnecessary duplication and parallel reporting process for parties, the Secretariat, and enforcement partners. Therefore, Kuwait suggests that document 45 as a standalone agenda item and merged to its content under document 41, ensuring one coordinated mandate for all big cat species, including cheetahs, that will strengthen implementation and avoid fragmentation. Thank you, Chair.
Ethiopia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethiopia wishes to draw attention to the escalating threat posed by the illegal trade in cheetahs, now classified as endangered. Cheetahs occupy only 9% of their historical range, with a global population of around 6,500, and illegal trade continues to be a major driver of their decline. Since the issue was first raised at COP16 evidence has shown a sharp rise in trafficking, especially of live calves. Illegal trade increased from an average of 350 cheetahs per year, 2010 to 2011, to more than 500 per year between 2020 to 2024, while only about 10% are intercepted. Online platforms, particularly social media and encrypted messaging, remain the primary channels complicating enforcement. Despite efforts under the African Carnivores Initiatives, the Big Cat Task Force, and previous CITES decisions, important gaps persist. Current work program lack smart indicators, measurable targets, and sustainable funding, while responses from key destination countries remain limited, as seen in notification 2024/097. Meanwhile, the Horn of Africa's cheetah population continue to decline rapidly. Ethiopia therefore urges stronger enforcement across fully supply chain and propose the following 3 amendments to further strengthen the decision proposed in document 45. 1, add text at the end of decision 20AA, paragraph B, and strengthen enforcement and collaboration through the supply chain for cheetahs. 2, to add a new decision 20AA, paragraph E, that asks for smart indicators and a monitoring framework to be developed for Big Cat Task Force work. Reading, develop, and include smart indicators, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bounded, to trace progress on actions outlined in the Big Cats Task Force outcome documents. 3, in Decision 20BB, directed at the Secretariat to refer to the 81 Standing Committee so that it reads, the Secretariat shall report to the 81 First Standing Committee meeting on the implementation of Decision 20AA, together with any recommendations it may have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ethiopia, could you just repeat the edits for 20AA? Thank you.
20, okay. Number 1, to add text at the end of Decision 20AA, paragraph B, and strengthen enforcement and collaboration throughout the supply chain for cheetahs.
Could you repeat the smart indicator paragraph? I think you had one for smart indicators.
Okay. The suggested paragraph is develop and include smart indicators, in brackets, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, close the bracket, to track progress on actions outlined in the Big Cats Task Force outcome documents.
Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving Kenya the floor. Kenya is a key range state for the cheetah, and we are concerned with escalating illegal trade in this species as expressed by Ethiopia. Chair, to be acknowledged that Kenya has been concerned that if issues of cheetah trade are addressed under the broad Big Cats Task Force agenda, cheetah will not receive the attention it so needs. For this reason, therefore, Madam Chair, Kenya has over time called for adoption of decisions that specifically speak to addressing illegal trade in cheetah. It's for this reason, therefore, that Kenya supports the recommendations contained in Doc 45 on the illegal trade in cheetah and the adoption of the draft decisions of these decisions with the amendments suggested by Ethiopia in Doc CoP20 in 33 and the additional amendments that Ethiopia has just made on the floor. Lastly, if the amendments by Ethiopia, we had suggested that instead of reporting on the implementation of these decisions at Standing Committee 81, should be pushed to Standing Committee 82, because we note that Standing Committee 81 just 1 year away. And so we may not have substantive reporting on the implementation of this decision. So under the draft decision 20BB, that calls for the reporting on implementation, then we are striking out the recommendation, the suggestion regarding Standing Committee 81, and we just retain 82. And lastly, if these decisions are adopted, then we support the recommendation on the deletion of the decisions 19.104 to decision 19.106. Thank you, Madam Chair.
United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United States agrees with the observations of other parties that the modalities concerning the illegal international trade in cheetahs differs from trade chains for other big cats, and therefore we agree with the recommendation that cheetahs continue to be a standalone agenda item for these considerations. We also support the amendments proposed by Ethiopia to draft decision 20.AA. We think they're good additions and additional specificity that's important for reporting. We also note, as others have, that there has been a poor reporting response with regard to notifications seeking additional information concerning illegal trade in cheetahs, and so we would stress that if the decisions if the draft decisions are adopted in the document as amended, that parties make every effort to report to notifications and other requests for information on measures they're putting in place. With regard to the draft decision concerning the report to the Standing Committee, we note that there is discussion at this meeting concerning a prioritization exercise, and therefore we would be inclined to defer to that exercise and not be overly prescriptive about which Standing Committee meeting during the next intersessional period the report should come to. And so our preference at this point would be to leave draft decision 20.BB as it appears in the document. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close the speaker list. It's very long, and I want to try to close this item before lunch. So I have Zimbabwe, Canada, UAE, India, Tanzania, Saudi Arabia, Uganda, Qatar, European Union, Oman, and United Kingdom. So I'll close the list now. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. Chair, Zimbabwe would like to thank the Standing Committee for preparing this document. The cheetah population is under threat globally. Yes, there's need for a concerted effort to conserve the species. In view of this, we wish to point out that there's need for parties to allocate more resources towards
combating illegal trade in cheetahs along the entire value chain, in addition to addressing all the possible and existing threats on the species. It is critical for parties not to forget that they have a primary responsibility to initiate or strengthen efforts to combat illegal trade in specimens of cheetah, including review relevant legislation, strengthening of their internal systems, and establishment of interagency crime prevention units. Zimbabwe is a member state to several trans-frontier conservation areas with its neighboring countries, hence fully participates in collaborative management of the species through harmonization of laws, policies, and procedures in the region. Chair, it is important to note that cheetah conservation cannot be achieved in piecemeal fashion. An integrated or even a whole-of-society approach is needed. We appreciate that the contents of this document are somehow linked to document 41 and other documents on big cats, but we, however, recommend the conference to adopt draft decisions 20AA to 20.cc as contained in the annex to the present document, and subsequently delete decisions 19.104 to 19.106. We, however, would like to make small edits to 20.AA little c by adding the following phrase at the end of the statement. And coordination with the provincial authorities, law enforcement, local communities, and civil society. Let me repeat the addition. And coordination with the provincial authorities, law enforcement, local communities, and civil society. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, please keep your interventions short. I just need to know if you support the original draft decision or Ethiopia's edits, and also US, where they said to keep the standing committee open and not be prescriptive, and also Kuwait's suggestion to merge 45 to 41. So please keep your intervention to these points. Thank you. Canada, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I will address your points, but I just want to provide some context. So Canada entered into planning for COP20 fully cognizant that on the agenda we have 114 agenda items, and we have over 300 decisions and growing to consider. So it is with that lens that Canada is focusing its attention on those decisions that have the broadest scope in terms of supporting the effective implementation of CITES. In this regard, Canada was inclined to support Kuwait's approach, which was to recognize the redundancy between the decisions just agreed under CITES Big Cats Task Force, item 41, and under this item. We've heard the concerns raised by Ethiopia, Kenya, Zimbabwe, and the United States, and we certainly won't block the adoption of these decisions as a separate item, but we remain concerned that this will not help us effectively proceed in our future standing committee meetings and onward in the intersessional period. So our preference would be to merge the two decisions, but we, of course, will follow the will of the room. In that regard, Canada has no concerns with the proposed amendments provided by Ethiopia and Zimbabwe, and we tend to agree with the United States that it is better to just reference the standing committee without referencing a specific meeting. Thank you.
UAE, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The UAE thanks the Standing Committee and the Secretariat for the work undertaken on this agenda item and for advancing implementation following COP19. We do not support the addition introduced by Ethiopia. The UAE supports the direction proposed by Kuwait to address the issue of illegal trade in cheetahs within the broader Big Cats framework, rather than through a separate species-specific track. In our view, the technical and operational reality is that cheetahs are already fully integrated in the work of the CITES Big Cats Task Force, including in enforcement guidance, online trade monitoring, legislative review, and international cooperation mechanism. Maintaining a standalone set of decisions for cheetahs risks duplicating mandates and fragmenting implementations. From an enforcement perspective, trafficking networks do not operate on a species-by-species basis. Investigations are organized around routes, online platforms, financial flows, and criminal syndicates that affect multiple big cat species altogether.
A unified Big Cats approach, therefore, better reflects operational realities and improve intelligence-led enforcement. We also note that cheetahs are already addressed alongside with other African carnivores within the framework of cooperation with CMS and the African Carnivore Initiative. Maintaining coherence between conventions is essential, and the single Big Cats framework strengthens that coherence. For this reason, the UAE supports Kuwait's proposal and encourages parties to consider consolidation under the Big Cats architecture as a stronger and more efficient solution without reducing the level of attention given to cheetahs. Thank you, Chair.
Uganda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I restrict myself to your guidance. Chair, with regard to the positions on the floor, Uganda aligns with the parties that want to maintain this agenda item for the reasons that have been ably elaborated by Ethiopia. We wish to note that Ethiopia has also provided an information doc 33, which provides more information on how serious the trade in cheetah is. Madam Chair has already mentioned earlier, Uganda hosted the joint CITES CMS African Carnivore Initiative Range States meeting in May 2023, and we believe that issues of the cheetah may not be ably addressed within the Big Cats Task Force. We also wish to align ourselves with the amendments made by Ethiopia, USA, and Kenya, and agree to the deletion of decisions 19.104 to 19.106. Thank you.
Saudi Arabia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to thank Secretariat for their, the Standing Committee for preparing for their work and preparing this document. And we would like to reiterate the statement made by Kuwait and support their recommendation and suggestion. And we are not in favor for the amendments made by Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India thanks the Standing Committee for the document CoP20.45. We wish to apprise the parties under Project Cheetah of Government of India. Cheetahs have been reintroduced to the wild in India in September 22, after 70 years when the wild cheetahs gone extinct from India. India wishes to thank the government of Namibia, Republic of South Africa, and Botswana for the cooperation and assistance they have rendered to India in implementing this ambitious, first successful transcontinental translocation of cheetahs. We will support the adoption of the draft decision 20AA to 20CC on illegal trade in cheetahs, as contained in the annex to the present document, CoP20.45. Thank you, Chair.
Translators, can I just request 10 more minutes? Thank you. Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep it really short. As a range state for the cheetah, Tanzania remains deeply concerned that illegal trade continues to undermine the viability of the cheetah populations, particularly in the Horn of Africa. In this regard, Tanzania supports the adoption of the draft decisions 20A to 20CC on illegal trade in cheetahs as presented in the annex to the document, as well as the deletion of the decisions 19.104 to 19.106. We further welcome the amendments proposed by Ethiopia and others, as we think that they strengthen collective effort to combat illegal trade in cheetahs. Thank you very much.
Qatar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Qatar supports the proposal presented by Kuwait to merge document 45 into document 41. Both documents addressed closely related issues concerning big cats, including cheetahs, and outline similar strategies and enforcement needs and draft decision. Maintaining two separate documents creates duplication for parties and partners and result in parallel reporting and overlapping mandates. Therefore, Qatar supports Kuwait's practical and constructive proposal and oppose the Ethiopian amendment. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair.
I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We support the deletion of decisions 19.104 to 19.106 and the adoption of the draft decisions in the annex of the document. We strongly encourage parties to reduce demand for cheetahs, in particular cheetah cubs, to combat illegal trade, and therefore suggest adding a reference to section 3.1 A through D of the CITES Big Cats Task Force outcome document in point C of decision 20.AAA. Sorry, AA. It would then read in draft decision 20AA point C, after of the CITES Big Cats Task Force outcome document, comma, and this is the new text, and to reduce demand for live cheetah cubs by implementing recommendations in section 3.1A through D of the same document. We can support the amendments suggested by Ethiopia. We agree with the US that it would be sufficient to report to either Standing Committee 81 or Standing Committee 82. We note that it is unfortunate that only 3 parties responded to notification number 2024/097 issued by the Secretariat to implement decision 19.104. For adequate implementation of the decisions, it would be beneficial to identify which parties are affected by illegal trade. We stress the importance that parties properly report on illegal trade and submit their annual reports in a timely manner. This will be helpful for parties to collaborate in combating illegal decisions and take the necessary measures to implement the new draft decisions. Thank you, Chair.
United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Whilst we share Canada's concerns about the extent of the CITES work programme, having heard the interventions from Ethiopia, Kenya, the United States and others, the UK can support distinct cheetah decisions as amended by Ethiopia, Kenya, the US and the EU. The UK would like to further encourage parties affected by illegal trade in cheetahs to report to the Secretariat on the implementation of this draft decision 20AA. We agree with the US amendment to the Standing Committee reporting, and in that we don't need need a specific meeting labelled. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. What I'm hearing from the floor basically is there is support for Ethiopia's amendment to the draft decisions, and also there were EU's and Kenya's draft decisions as well. And for the part on the Standing Committee 20BB, I think generally everyone is agreeable that not to be prescriptive, we keep it open. It could be 81st, 82nd. So my sense is that I will ask Secretariat to come up with a ComDoc to take in everyone's edits, because the edits are everywhere, and so it's clearer. So I just want to see if there's any objection that Secretariat provides a ComDoc taking in the edits from Ethiopia, Kenya, EU, and also, yeah, that's it for 20AA, the edits to 20AA. So I want to see if there's any strong objections. And before that, can I just open the floor to non-parties and observer organizations? IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of IUCN and 9 NGOs and universities, the names of whom I will share with the CITES Secretariat for the record. As indicated by Information Document 33 in a growing body of scientific publications, illegal trade in live cheetah poses an ongoing threat to the survival of cheetahs, particularly in the Horn of Africa. Alarmingly, evidence from the standard database used to document illegal trade incidents in cheetah since 2010 indicates a 43% increase in live cheetahs traded over the last 5 years compared to the preceding decade. There is also a rapidly increasing number of confiscated cheetahs in the Cheetah Conservation Fund's rescue facility in Hargeisa, which currently cares for 127 cheetahs recovered from illegal trade, with 30 arriving this year alone. The specific conditions around illegal trade in cheetah, particularly the live aspect, warrants targeted focus and separate attention from that of other big cats. The Horn of Africa also supports a rare cheetah subspecies, Acinonyx jubatus samungi, globally assessed as endangered on the IUCN Red List in 2022. These cheetahs are distributed across fragmented populations and are estimated to number less than 600 adults. If action to combat illegal trade is not taken, then there are likely to be local extinctions of this subspecies. Moreover, as cheetahs become harder to source within this region, the trade is likely to extend into neighbouring countries with negative impacts on an increasing number of cheetah populations. We therefore support the decisions in this document, together with the important amendments provided by Ethiopia, US, and the EU and Zimbabwe. Finally, we urge parties, IGOs and NGOs to work together collaboratively to address this issue. Thank you, Chair.
Cheetah Conservation Fund.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, thank you. As the organization currently caring for these 127 confiscated cheetahs, we remain gravely concerned that the illegal trade in live cheetahs continues, placing significant pressure on already endangered wild population in the region. At the same time, we recognize and sincerely appreciate the increasing attention and commitment shown by demand countries. We believe this creates an important moment for us to work together in a coordinated and solution-driven way. Therefore, we are taking this opportunity to extend an open invitation to demand, transit, and source countries to join a collaborative dialogue platform through the Global Cheetah Forum, aimed at strengthening cooperation along the full supply chain. This platform will jointly identify actionable measures, including improved monitoring of online markets, rigorous origin verification processes, and strategies for supporting communities on the front lines of protecting the species in the wild. This will also support the recommendation proposed in Document 45, as well as Ethiopia's, US, Zimbabwe proposed amendments, and we agreed that the cheetah warrants separate considerations. We look forward to working closely with all the parties to transform our shared commitment into action so that cheetahs can remain where they belong, in the wild. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So on the issue of separating, on the suggestion by Kuwait to actually merge document the decisions in 45 to 41, I heard from the range states and many other parties, including the European Union, that they do see merit in separating them as it is. So my decision would be to leave it separate, as I've listened from the floor. I see Kuwait asking for the floor. Kuwait, you can have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. If there is a collection of amendments, I would like to put forward an amendment to the decisions as well. So it will read like, the Standing Committee shall consider the integration of matters relating to illegal trade in cheetahs into the work of the CITES Big Cat Task Force with a view of improving coherence, efficiency, and effectiveness of implementation, and report to the 21st meeting of the Conference of the Parties. That's what Kuwait would like to put forward as recommendation decision. Thank you.
Thank you. My sensing is that that's fair, because I think there were also quite a number of parties that actually agree that there is also merit in merging. So I think there just needs to be more consideration. So I would like to get some sensing from the floor. But for me, I think that it's quite fair that, the standing committee can still consider whether, to actually merge them for more efficient work so that, the secretariat does not have so many documents to go through. So I would like to see if there's any strong objection to Kuwait's edit. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We listened to the intervention by Kuwait, and we want to believe that that intervention is falling under the draft decisions adopted under Agenda 41. However, it doesn't mean that adopting that recommendation is impacting on the draft decisions that we have proposed under Agenda 45. For the reasons that we have said, we are worried, we are concerned that if we don't give specific attention to the issues affecting the cheetah, that's the illegal trade in cheetah, then we'll lose we'll miss out. The cheetah will miss out, and so we would really strongly recommend that we address the issues of cheetah. Cheetah is a unique species, and if we bring together with all the other big cats, then that attention will get lost. So we believe the submission by Kuwait goes into the draft decisions and being adopted under Agenda 41 on the big cat. And when Ethiopia was making submission, they also made suggestions on amendments to 20AA to reflect on the big cats. But then the draft decisions we are proposing under the 45 should be distinct to address the issues of illegal trade in cheetah. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so for considering Kuwait's suggestion, the suggested edit, and also Kenya's concern, I've discussed with the Secretariat is that what we could do is that Secretariat will provide a comm doc, and also there will be a separate draft decision for Standing Committee to actually consider the merger between the 45 and 41. And if that decision is adopted, it will go to 41. Okay, so I repeat again. So what we will be doing is that Secretariat will provide a COM doc that will firstly address all the edits from the different parties. So you'll see that COM doc, and also a separate draft decision for standing committee to consider the merger of 41 and 45. But if it is adopted, that draft decision will go into 41, CITES Big Cat Task Force. Are there any strong objection to that? Because I think that's a compromise, and I do see merit in that because it really is more efficient. Okay, I do not see any strong objection from the floor. I will close this item, so just let me repeat again what we're agreeing to. So the committee accepts the draft decisions. Yeah, sorry, the item is still open. We'll come back to it after the COM doc. Thank you very much. So I'll close it now, and the afternoon session is closed, and I'll give the floor to Secretariat for housekeeping.
Thank you. This is just a repeat announcement for the participants, students, and lecturers in the UNIA Baeza Master's course on CITES. There's a group photo today right after the session concludes next to the Committee 1 stage. There are a few working groups that are taking place today, and I understand that there will be a screen behind me that shows the working group. Working group on Boswellia from 12 o'clock in Black Stork. And there's also a working group on Pau Brasilia, Equinata from 1715 in Black Stork. And there should also be a budget working group starting immediately after this session. Thank you, Chair, and have a good lunch break. Thank you.